it's great to know these people are Christian nationalists, but not knowing the little ins and outs of their Christianity can become problematic for people. There's a
Yeah.
person whose last name is Bonson, and actually they have the Bonson Institute, and they actually are a person who uh, pretty much wrote about theonomy and Christian ethics. Um,
Yeah.
and
Bonson.
that's really, yes, Bahn-Sen, Greg
Mm.
Bonson,
Yep,
Bahn.
got it. It's literally the first search, Bonson Institute. That's
Yeah.
probably bad. Probably a bad thing that that's the first search thing.
And there's also PRRI, I believe. Yeah, the Religion Research Institute is a really good place to start looking for some of this stuff too. They do a lot of research about current Christian attitudes and so forth. And they have a lot. They actually will tell you in their research that about 30% of people are either Christian nationalist or Christian nationalist adjacent. They would not have a problem with a Christian nationalist government.
Yeah.
And that pretty much covers most of MAGA. I mean,
Yeah.
when you look, we had 30% turnout for Trump, 30% turnout for Democrats, and the rest stayed home. And that's kind of where things are at.
Yeah.
And
No, I've heard that theory before, specifically on
Mhm.
those numbers too. And
Yeah,
it kind of lines up roughly with the numbers for uh psychological experiment called the Ash experiment, where 30% of like roughly 20, I think it's roughly 28% of a population will always go with like an authoritarian style rule in any experiment, as long as it's the easiest path to getting what they want.
Mm.
Even if it means like, here, I'll even look it up. I'll give you
Okay.
actually it's super easy. Yes. And it's Ash is ASCH experiments. So demonstrated the power of group pressure on individual judgment. In these studies, a single real participant joined several Confederates to judge the length of lines. On critical trials, the Confederates unanimously gave the wrong answer, and the real participants conformed to the incorrect majority about 1/3 of the time, even when they knew the answer was wrong.
Right.
So it's a social pressure and social acceptance.
Hmm.
And this becomes even more or even worse and more significant when you add a mask in front of
Right.
that face, and then even more people jump over. Um, so it's uh
It's the way we're wired.
yeah,
Yep.
it's the way we're psychologically wired, yeah. But also, it's really unfortunate because those 30% of people could easily, like, really easily, probably just go, huh, this is the wrong choice. Because they're just as easily going, I'm going to do this because I don't want to make any decision at all.
Right.
And
And it's
that's
easier to just have to find a set of rules and follow it than have to make decisions. Now,
sheeple. Sheeples.
one thing that the apologists for Christian nationalism, well, not Christian nationalism per se, but for Christian Reconstructionism and Dominionism, which is behind that, one of their arguments is that they aren't taking away the government.
Hmm.
They are just telling us how the government should be based, and that's not the same thing. And it's interesting because they talk about having magistrates rule us, and they really aren't talking about having the state government we currently have. They
No.
really want a much more compartmentalized, localized type of rule, and they don't mind having an elected leader to to institute their Christian form of government. Um,
As long as that
and
elected leader is from their group and only their group.
willing to enforce all of their laws exactly as they
Yes.
see them. Now, theocracy means the religion is in charge. And it's really interesting because I was watching, you guys can all thank me for this later because it makes me actually sick before it's over. But I was watching a podcast by one of the CREC leaders,
Yeah.
and mentioned theonomy very briefly and then immediately started another topic because he doesn't want people to hear theonomy and start thinking about what it means. And because I'm sure not all of his followers actually would be pro theonomy. They wouldn't want to say stone people because they had an affair. They wouldn't want to stone people who identify as gay. They don't really think that capital punishment should happen if you wear a woman's clothing and you're a man. They think that's a little bit over the top. So that he just says theonomy and keeps going. But theonomy says that biblical law, in this case, but it's actually any divine law, is used to make all the laws.
Yeah.
And
But
so
only
what?
biblical law.
Only biblical law.
Mhm.
So what happens is you end up with, they pretty much say, in fact, I was reading further in their confession of faith, and they believe it's a stoning offense if you mislead someone from being part of their religion. If you lead them away from God, their version of God, then you are stonable. So that would mean people who would stand up against this would be eligible for the death penalty
Yeah,
in
because
that society.
stoning doesn't mean like strictly stoning. Like, it just means they're gonna find a way to kill you.
Yes.
Like
It used
you're
to be killed.
punishable by you're punishable by death in their eyes for any
Mhm.
act outside of their very, very narrow view of
There
whatever it is they view.
there are purists who actually say the stoning has to be kept because Paul survived stoning, I think once or twice. And
Oh, that
so
way you have a chance of
you
surviving
have
it.
a chance of surviving. You could get the whole town throwing stones at you. And if everybody gets to throw their number of stones and you're still breathing, you get to survive.
What a fucking just stupid. Just I'm sorry, like
Can you imagine how painful that would be?
I can. I mean, yeah, I can. I live with fibro. Like, I can
Yeah,
imagine
yeah,
exactly how
I
painful that
know, but
might
I'm sitting
be.
here, people. Exactly. I don't know. I don't know what the rules were for stoning. I just knew they picked up rocks and threw them at people.
I
Some
think
clear
you,
dialogue. I
yeah, I
don't.
don't think there's any real clear,
It's
like,
as soon
I think
until they
it's
run out of
established.
rock.
Yeah, I think it's established at the time. Like, you each get one rock, you each get 10 rocks. Let's have mob mentality. Let's just
Right.
stone you until you can't breathe or you're covered in stones. Like, they don't care. And that's the thing. Yeah, I think the point you're making in all of this, though, is the really important one, is they're afraid of the word theonomy. They like the word theocracy because it's very just
Well,
overarching, and it doesn't mean that it has to be so just Christian. It could be Hindu, Christian, Muslim,
well,
and Jewish mix, but
they know
theonomy.
theocracy they know they can't do with the Constitution, but theonomy they can say, oh no, we're not saying that we are the religion. We're just saying that our religion has to dictate all the rules.
Well, that's
So
the
this is
establishment clause, and not being a constitutional scholar, I can't say exactly, but being someone who has read the Constitution more than once,
yeah.
and has read the establishment clause, and in fact, let's just do a little learning while we do this. Let me just type in the establishment
Establishment clause.
clause, and we're gonna read it.
Great.
We're gonna read it. Let's see here. Let's find one that's reputable. Ooh, Wikipedia will have one.
Yeah.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. It sounds like you cannot establish Christianity because that's the establishment of a religion through
Mhm.
laws.
But they argue that theonomy, they aren't actually establishing that you worship. You just have to follow the laws as established in the Bible. And they argue, of course, the Bible as Abrahamic is good for Jews and Muslims as well as Christians, since they're going back to the Old Testament. Yada yada yada.
Yada yada yada, and they're wrong because, and we'll explain it here in a few simple words. The Constitution does not say you have to establish that people worship the religion. It's just the establishment of said religion.
Right.
You cannot prefer one religion over another. Hence, cannot establish a religion, because establishing any one religion with preference over the other means that you are preferencing and establishing it as a preferred state religion, which means if it's preferred, you have to follow the preferred state religion's laws. Doesn't mean you have to worship technically, but if the preferred religion's laws say if you don't worship, you go to jail or you get stoned, well, then the government has now established a religion. So theonomists get fucked.
One of their arguments is that we choose not to murder people, and that's in their rules, and we choose not to steal from people, et cetera, et cetera. We choose, we agree with us all this other stuff anyhow, so why shouldn't we have our morality be the default morality of the country? Of course, once you start digging, like I dug into the covenant, Reformed evangelical, the covenant Reformed evangelical churches. Mm-hmm. I dug into their Westminster Confession of Faith, and it actually declares that the Pope is the Antichrist. Now, if you've ever read any of the Left Behind books, or watched any certain movies, the Antichrist is not exactly a favored figure.
No.
So that would mean anyone worshiping the religion of the Antichrist would also be a heretic and a blasphemer. And once again,
happen to be who?
That happens to be death sentence. That happens to be all the Catholics.
Oh, the Catholics. Isn't J.D. Vance a Catholic?
Yes, he doesn't realize what these people have buried in their Westminster Confession of Faith, I think.
Oh, sucks to suck. Maybe he shouldn't. Maybe he shouldn't put on so many fake faces and masks, and maybe he won't be culpable of being a Nazi prick. Go fuck that guy.
Yeah, pretty nice. What's frightening about all of this is that people are being told, "Oh, deal. Most of us follow Christian ethics anyhow." And the ones that tend to stand up and go, "Hey, this isn't a good idea," are, of course, LGBTQ and atheists, because they go, no, wait a second. I know for sure they're going to try to kill me. And you might want to look a little deeper and see what they do to the rest of you. Yeah. And like I said, when I was hearing some of this taught years ago, I can remember wondering how I didn't believe that it would ever come to this. I figured that separation of church and state would defeat it long ago. But instead, here we are. And we have people in our government who actually are part of this. And we have them showing up on podcasts where people say the quiet part out loud now. And, it says they believe that God is over everything, that God's law is the only law that will work for human beings because he made us, quote unquote, and knows how we work. And he knows that we need to have the death penalty for things like adultery so we won't stray from our spouses. And, we've demonstrated over the past 40 years that a ethic that is don't hurt other people and let other people have their own autonomy isn't harmful to the world. Unfortunately, people who are much more comfortable in a much more limited environment would rather put their limitations on all of us rather than just leaving their limitations on themselves.
Yeah.
And that is where this becomes really dangerous. And we've, of course, had a bit of a list of people who are part of this. And not to put too fine a point on it, but here we are because God said so. Yeah, pretty much. Those fine, rich white boys have fought this battle amongst themselves also. Oh, yeah, definitely some clear dialogue. And,
Well,
you know,
yeah. I mean, look at what happened in Italy, and Rome. I mean, the Catholic Church took over Italy and for a
right.
while and took over Spain and France
Well,
and
at one point, there was the Holy Roman Empire.
yeah,
And even at the time, England's church was Catholic. And of course, Henry VIII left the Catholic Church because he couldn't get a divorce.
yeah,
And that was their version. Now, Luther, of course, he did the Theses on the Wall, and that was about things like the papal indulgences and other obvious graft in the church that he condemned. The church has always had a problem with when it gets too powerful, it gets very corrupt and things happen. And right now we have a group in our country in the evangelical side of things that is trying its hardest to take power. And it started this in at least the 60s for parts of it. Um, Back when we had the civil rights movement actually really triggered a lot of people because they were like, "Oh, no, no, we are not integrating. We are not mixing with those brown people." And that is when you see the moral majority start, is when Rushdoony started preaching and started writing his books about theonomy. All of this is triggered by integration, which most of us are perfectly fine with multiple races of people around us. But that's what triggered this. And now I really believe what's taken over, of course, is when Obama became president, the racists got a little bit upset. And I keep losing him. The racists got upset. They decided to organize to make sure they never got a black president in the White House again. Then they all started doing this network. They started going through the stuff that Rushdoony did. The moral majority, of course, they aligned with the Republican Party way back in the 70s. They promised, actually back in the late 60s, that they could get white voters to the Republican Party if the Republican Party would start doing a few dog whistles around things to let them know what they were voting for.
yeah,
And the Republicans have been the party of whites pretty much since then. And it's one of the reasons I was reading a article about black people not voting Republican and how the Republicans have always kind of known that they agreed to this back in the 60s and 70s.
yeah,
And it's the time of the white migration after I don't know, Johnson. After Johnson did the Civil Rights Amendment, they had the Great White Flight to the Republican Party because the Republican Party was going to be the one that was pro-white. And been
yes.
it's all been intertwined ever since. It really has. And
Yeah, I'm reading through an article at the moment called
mhm.
feedingonchrist.org.
Ooh,
Um and it's I'll put the link in the chat. Um and one of the things that I'm reading in here, let's see here. In short, Vos is suggesting that God imposed an old covenant Israel on old covenant Israel a shadow of his eschatological righteous
mhm.
rule. This shadow was to reflect the ideal until the coming of the Redeemer. the members of the Westminster Assembly made the strongest possible declaration about the expiration of the Old Covenant civil law in the New Covenant era when they wrote, to Old Covenant Israel as a body politic, we gave sundry judicial laws which expired together with the state of that people, not obliging any other now, furthering than the general equity thereof may require. So everything that belonged to the Old Covenant theocracy is now spiritualized in Christ. It
Right.
was, yeah, so they
Which is
are
interesting.
waiting on the coming Messiah, and they're building a country now, or they're imposing their ideals on a country until the Redeemer shows up. Um, which obviously means that Trump is not the Redeemer that they believe is going to show up. Like, because he has not he has created the shadow to reflect the ideal of what is coming, but he is not the Redeemer. It's interesting reading that line, and putting it in the way, in how, at least how I see the way they treat Trump.
Right.
Um, because we have to assume the worst from these people at all times. Like, that's their motivation. So in their eyes, they're already treating this as they are on the path towards a theonomy, and they're nearly there. And
Yeah. See, part
that
of
at
this.
some point they're going to shed the old, I mean, euphemistic or metaphorically and euphemistically too, is like the old covenant Israel would be
Mhm.
Trump and Bibi. And they shed the old covenant off.
Well, the
And
old covenant Israel's pre-Jesus. Jesus says in one place that he came not to destroy the law but fulfill it. And that means fulfilling of the prophecy and the fact that it ends the sacrificial system. And he also says in another place that the law, not one jot or tittle of the law would be erased. So they take the two competing options and say that this means that the judicial law, the law that said what you can and can't do, is still in place, but the sacrificial law and the cleanliness laws are both abolished. Which is unfortunate because in the cleanliness law, women got to spend 1 week outside of the camp entirely all by themselves when they were on their period because they were ceremonially unclean. Then they'd have to bathe and they got to go back. But for 1 week, you didn't have to cook for anyone, clean for anybody. You got to just be all by yourself. And I
yeah,
don't know. I think that actually is a nice way to do it. You know, I
yeah, like,
I could live with that.
yeah, like I mean, Easter, the celebration of Easter is like a woman's celebrate, or like Mother's Day. Those are women's
Yeah,
devotional celebrations, basically. Like Easter, you're celebrating the goddess of rebirth at that point,
Ishtar.
like Ishtar. Like you're
Yes, it is
celebrating
actually.
rebirth and sex. Like that's
Yes,
all you're
it is. It
doing.
is definitely not a Christian actual celebration. It was brought in to keep the pagans happy.
Yeah. And Mother's Day, which has been allowed to flourish in a quote Christian society, um, is a pagan ritual too. Is like they would, I believe it's the Greeks, they would go into the forest and dance around naked with no men around, just mothers, and they would get time to themselves. And they would do their naked things in the woods, and that would be it. And then they'd
Yeah,
come back.
yeah,
And then they got time away from the family. Like, we still do that. Like, Father's Day is the made up one. We made that one up not too long ago. But Mother's Day's been practiced for generations and generations now. So one of the things I don't understand about these folks, to be
no,
totally honest,
mhm,
is Old Testament law, or at least if you want to follow Jewish practices,
mhm.
would be a matriarchal society. To be, at
No,
least new Jewish practices are matriarchal.
and
Old
they may be new
Jewish
because
practices.
I don't know if you know this, but
No, actually, I probably might.
okay, let's see.
No,
Um,
let's see.
in 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 inheritance in Old Testament, it was mostly to the males, but
Yes.
there was a one set in the Exodus where there were two girls and no male heirs, and Moses ruled that the two girls inherited their father's property.
See, what I think they're really mad about is that after World War II, or because of World War II, Judaism became a matriarchal religion
Might have
by
been this then.
necessity. By necessity. Like it was we either do this or we die. Like
Right.
we're out of existence, we die. And so it became a matriarchal religion. And I think they're really upset about that. I think they're
Oh,
upset that
I wouldn't be
women got
surprised.
so much power in the Jewish faith
Yeah.
and that women's rights were recognized in ways that they hadn't been before. I mean, like, you have to have sex through a sheet if you're a friggin'
Right.
Hasidic Jew. Like these people are nuts. It's very Sarah and Jezebel y and gross. Like
Interesting.
it's it's weird. Like but anyways, we got
I,
really
I
off
don't
topic.
I don't
I
know
just
if everyone knows the definition of the word eschatology.
oh,
Eschatology
probably not.
is end times theology in Christianity. And there is a differing beliefs about when it happens. There's something called premillennialism, which and amillennialism and postmillennialism. And postmillennialism is the one that believes that we have a world where Christian ethics are supposed to dominate. Um, Premillennialism, hang on, in Christian eschatology is the belief that Jesus will physically return to earth before the millennium and herald in 1,000-year messianic age of peace. And that's a literal interpretation of Revelations 20. And amillennialism, I believe, is a position that holds there will be no millennial reign on the rights of the righteous on earth. And millennial believes that it happens after, premillennial believes it happens before. Um, but postmillennialism holds Jesus Christ established his kingdom on earth through his preaching and redemptive work in the first century, and the church is equipped to be in charge after that. Through the Great Commission, they're supposed to disciple all nations and all people. And one day, when conditions are right, Jesus will return visibly, bodily, gloriously, and end history with resurrection and final judgment, and then an eternal, beautiful, heavenly life after. And postmillennial theology is the dominant belief in most Christians these days. And that's part of what you're seeing in the whole let's take over the United States and put Israel and rebuild the temple. This is all to get Jesus back on earth, and it's called postmillennialism. Um, I always kind of believed in premillennialism, which I guess makes me more of a heretic. Um, I always believed that the whole good stuff came after Jesus came back, and we were just kind of waiting for that. But apparently, I'm wrong, according to these crazy people. But I think they've got other issues, to be honest.
Yeah, I think they have other issues because one of the things we've talked about before is the idea of bringing about prophecy doesn't work. Like forcing prophecy doesn't work. Like you read
Right,
it in
exactly.
books all the time. You read it in every fantasy book. You read it through the Bible. Forcing prophecy doesn't work. It gets you the wrong shit because you're lying. You're doing the devil's work or whatever Satan's work or anybody who's not God. Forcing prophecy is doing the work of the Antichrist. Like
Right.
they are forcing prophecy
Hmm.
and you can't force it. You can't, if it's a true prophecy, you couldn't force it. It's going to happen on its own no matter what we do, no matter what we do to stop it. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in prophecy because that means everything happens without choice. Um, at some point, like you're destined to do things. I don't think we're destined to do anything. I think we make our own destiny by the choices that we make and the ties that we tie ourselves to, or the knots we tie ourselves into, or the strings we attach ourselves to. Um, and those create the web and the future of the possibilities. And we just get to, we hit one of them. And yeah, maybe they all exist and all possibilities are true, but I don't know about the rest of them and the choices I have made, which means I'm not destined to do anything. I get to choose what I want to do. That's why I don't like prophecy.
Right.
And I don't like people who fulfill prophecy because they're forcing my life to go their prophecy. And I don't believe their prophecy because how many other religions are there? Like 4,000 other religions on this world or something? If 3,999 other religions are wrong, why do I believe that yours is right? Like, why do I believe that your prophecy is the right prophecy? Especially if none of the events have happened. Like
Right.
you've made events fit your narrative, but none of the events have happened. And yeah, only God can fulfill prophecy.
If
And
he exists.
if he exists, like I don't believe that there is a God. I mean, I don't care if there is or isn't. I got questions if there is, and if I'm dead the other way. Like, but like only God or gods can fulfill prophecy, or godlike beings could fulfill prophecy. And we aren't God, not that I know of. And there are a lot of wars happening because we allowed ourselves to be destabilized and put into a web of lies. Like,
Yeah.
I don't see that as a prophecy. I see that as moral failings and choices that we made as humans. Um, and yeah, there are a lot of wars happening,
I found a
but
really good
I
book
don't
I
know if
like.
they're I don't know if there are more than when we were really little. We just didn't hear about them all.
I found a book I really like to get, but I found out getting it used is over $55 now, so I'm not going to get it, I guess. Um, but I got some quotes out of it. It's called Theonomy, a Reformed Critique, and it's from actually 1990. And it has, I don't know if some people here will have heard of Timothy Keller. He's a known theologian. And he has a chapter in it called Theonomy and the Poor, Some Reflections. And it says he makes a major concession to postmillennial thought when he emphatically affirms the calling of the church to transform culture. He believes that Christians should seek to bring about biblical reform and transformation to our whole society. Now, the thing is, at the same time, it says it can be argued that this position does not necessarily commit one to postmillennialism. It remains a fact that the idea of transforming culture lies at the root of postmillennial thinking. And it remains to be proved, and this is what I'm emphasizing, that Scripture anywhere calls the church to this task. Nowhere in Scripture are we told that we have to rule a country. And it has always been my position as a now deconstructed Christian that if they really wanted to influence society, they would do what Jesus did. They would take care of the poor, clothe the naked, feed the hungry, welcome the stranger. This would be life changing to the whole world if Christianity actually embraced those things and did them. Instead, we have a group who say, okay, United States is getting too far away from what we want it to look like, and we are going to take control, and then we are going to make laws and put up people who will enforce them, and they are going to be based on the Old Testament.
Yeah.
And they're and we've been having them appointed, obviously, into our government at this point. Um, as I said, they are anti. They believe anyone who goes outside of their rules is not a good Christian, and that then puts them at the place where you can be stoned for disagreeing with them,
Yeah.
and that is where it gets really dangerous. Uh, Really, Carrie? I always thought Vatican II's big divide was over some of the liberalism that came into the Catholic Church after Vatican II. But I'm not a Catholic, so I'm not sure. I just know Vatican II was like a big dividing line in before and after in the Catholic Church. And of course, they were very upset by Pope Francis, some of the more traditionalists, but I actually really appreciated him. I thought he was a very good pope. Um, but these people
Yeah.
say that Pope is the Antichrist if you get far enough into the Westminster Confession of Faith, which means that the Pope and anyone who believes in him would, of course, be eligible for stoning.
Yeah. Would be antithetical to a theonomy
Yes.
because it's Christian, not Catholic.
And any Protestant church that supports LGBTQ would be eligible for stoning.
Yeah.
Anyone who did not support the version of Christianity they are using would be considered leading someone away from God, and once again, eligible for stoning. This becomes a very frightening concept very quickly. And we aren't being told everything. Like I said, these people said theonomy and then went to a whole new topic quickly because they didn't want people to even hear theonomy because it
Yeah.
sounds a little bit like theocracy. Like, oh, Theo something, So they said theonomy and then started a whole new thing about why they had to be in charge and really fast skipped over that word because they didn't want people to hear it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, theonomy and theocracy are very similar.
right.
Um, and just going back to the point Susan was making one about the wars, and we were talking back and forth
Mm-hmm.
about like fulfilling prophecy, is I'm not disagreeing with you, Susan, that it like the idea of it is a biblical thing with the lots of wars happening. But at the same time, those wars are very forced. Like none of them had to continue. Bibi Netanyahu literally bombed Israel or bombed Gaza and then kept going and then kept invading and is now performing a genocide. Like he could have stopped. He had the choice to do that. Same as President Biden had the choice to stop funding Israel while they were doing it, and we didn't. And President Trump has increased the arms basically to Israel to allow it to happen and unleash them and allowed them to continue the genocide. But it's not a red versus blue thing. It's really just a moral failing at this point. Is there's a theonomy behind this ideal of we have to let Israel force a war because it's the end times. Like the end times are near, so now we're going to force a war. I'm not saying Joe Biden believes in that. I don't mince my words there. Like I don't believe Joe Biden believes in a theonomy. I think he very, very, very heartfully believes in American democracy. But I think he was put in a situation where he didn't exercise his true beliefs or power as president to stop what was coming, or what was happening, because he could have done a lot more to stop this. And I wish he had. I wish he had exercised his power as the president to
Mm-hmm.
stop some of this shit because he could have.
Yeah.
They could have done a lot more. And I'm really pissed off about that. And
I
that's
think
why I
they
don't
were
care.
afraid.
They were, but
They were afraid of being called anti-Christian.
and that's the thing is we're not afraid. Hey, so we're not afraid of this anymore. I'm not afraid to say that there's
If
a coming theonomy, not a
right.
theocracy. There is a coming theonomy, and
Yeah. If
we'll
we
do
don't stand
the
up and fix it.
yeah. If we don't stand up now and continue to push back, like
Right.
if you're not engaged now, like I mean, obviously you are because you're here. Like
Right.
if you're here, you're engaged. But if
Right.
other people around you aren't engaged more, like continue encouraging them to be engaged
Right.
rather quickly, because a technocratic theonomy is what we're going to live under,
Yes.
and it's going to be the institution. So here's what a theonomy is based on its authority from Google AI. I asked it to do a semi deep dive onto it. Um, but and so this is an AI's definition, not a pure structured definition that I came up with or found from like a single source. So this could be a compiled definition. So theonomy, the authority is God's law is the ultimate source of all civil law. In its most technical sense, theonomy specifically advocates for the application of Old Testament judicial law to modern civil governments.
Mm-hmm.
Take that into consideration with a tech theonomy, techno-fascist theonomy, or technocratic theonomy, whatever you want to call it. That is the authority of God's law as the ultimate source of all civil law. In its
Right.
most technical sense, it's going to be the application of Old Testament judicial law using tech-based surveillance and predictive
Mm-hmm.
profiling. And it's the Handmaid's Tale, but it's also more rudiment. It's 1984. It's
Yeah.
um
You must love Big
like
Brother, the Big Brother of
it's Big
Jesus
Brother.
Christ.
Yeah, it's Big Brother, and it's V for Vendetta. It's Handmaid's Tale. It's all of them. It's
Yeah.
all of them. And they're all sort of the same. They were all like Big Brother is a type of, isn't a theonomy, but would be a very close approximation of one. Is they were literally beholden to a single figure.
Right.
Um, it just wasn't God. It's
Right.
like this here is they're gonna read only the passages of the Testament that they care about. They don't care about all of them.
Correct. No.
They only care about some of them.
Otherwise,
Um,
they would notice that in that God defines justice as care of the widow, poor orphan, alien within your gates from the very earliest part of the Bible,
yeah,
and that's one they love to skip.
Yeah, they also like to skip the fact that it is very clearly referenced in the Bible that there's more than one God out there, and that the Judaic God or the Abrahamic faith's God is just part of a pantheon of gods and is the God of gods in their
Mhm.
view, and is the leader of the gods in their view, and is actually the
Right.
God of war, is the God of war from its original pantheon and killed the others in or broke away from the others and became the most powerful or convinced people it was the most powerful. Sound kind of human to you? Sound pretty warlordish or authoritarian to you? Like some
Yeah.
dude coming into power claiming that they're bigger and better than the rest, having no proof of it, and just spreading it around like nobody's business, and just putting out all this fake news and blasting it out there, and then starting a crusade, taking over Rome,
Mhm.
turning an empire into a Holy Roman Empire, and then dissolving that empire and fracturing it, and starting 1,000 years of Dark Ages, and then brutalizing women and children and heretics around the world for generations and millennia. Um, I don't think the Christian faith gets a pass
No.
anymore. Like like people can't keep telling me that it's not Christianity that's the problem, it's the believers. Well, the believers are the faith. Like you define the faith and what its history is and what its teachings are and how they are practiced and how other people around you view them. I am I am a agnostic male who's of Jewish origin. Like I'm of Jewish descent. I don't believe the same things that Lisa believes.
That's
And
fine with me.
that's fine and okay because we're rational freaking human beings.
Correct.
And none of what they're doing is. None of it is. And I'm tired of like I'm tired of being told that we have to hide the idea that we can't talk about these things.
Right.
And like, it's okay to be agnostic. And it's also okay to remind people that the Christian faith has brutally murdered and destroyed countless generations of people.
Well, it's been. I mean, look at if you want to
Look at
just point.
look at the Inquisitions and the
Don't
Spanish
forget that.
Inquisitions.
Look at colonialism. Most of that was done as civilizing the uh,
Mm.
non-civilized tribes, and we totally eradicated many people. We definitely took all of their social and cultural memory and just shit canned it. I mean, it's really ridiculous.
Like,
Um,
look at the Mormon Church.
yeah,
Like they brutally murdered the indigenous population of North America to spread themselves across and find Zion.
so did the
And
rest of us.
so did the rest of us, but they were on a
Manifest destiny.
but they were on a much more targeted mission than most other settlers. The Mormons sought out to kill them and
Right.
rid the world of the
Which
native
is
populations.
interesting because if you read their Book of Mormon and a few of their texts, it sounds more like they're there to and bring them all back to Christianity. But of course,
Yeah,
they also
no.
said that if they actually converted, they'd turn white, and none of the native population or the blacks who became Mormon turned white.
And the guy who wrote the book found golden plates in a forest in Vermont while tripping on shrooms and was, oh, by the way, a fraudster and a womanizer
Everyone
and
else knew that.
abuser,
He's a gold
and
digger,
an
literally.
assaulter, literal gold digger. Sounds a lot like someone we know who
Someone we
came
just
down a
elected to
golden
president.
escalator. Never heard this guy, Joseph Smith. Never heard of, oh, I mean Donald Trump.
Yeah,
Oops,
exactly.
sorry. I got those two names wrong because they're the same fucking dude. Like literally the founder of the Mormon Church is Donald Trump as a human being. He just led people across the country. And oh, by the way, murdered a bunch of people along the way. Which, oh, by the way, Donald Trump is doing the same fucking thing again. Like he killed millions of us the last time he was president. I don't think I understand why anybody would think he wouldn't do it a second time.
Yeah,
But yet here we are.
it's soft eugenics pretty much, ending
It's not soft
vaccination.
anymore.
Well, they're not gassing people. It's not until it's physically harming people directly.
Well,
Withholding medication and stuff
I would
is.
argue that withholding medication as someone who takes medication daily to reduce their pain and
I do
survive,
too.
and who has a neuro or a immunodeficiency because of all of this stuff, I would say that vaccines are a life
Mhm.
sentence or a
No,
death
I agree.
sentence. I'm not. I know you. I'm not disagreeing. I mean, they would.
If
They would
see,
take the point
they consider
of,
it as letting you die rather than killing
uh,
you, so it's
yeah.
soft.
I don't call it soft when they are threatening to kill me or
Yeah.
bring measles, mumps, rubella,
Rubella.
polio,
Yep.
anything back that kills people that we eradicated. It should be a crime to bring those back and
Yep.
willingly let your kids die from them.
And
And if you're
Florida is
then
making
going,
vaccination no longer required
yep, and this
for
is all
full
part
scale.
of this is all part of a theonomy. They
Mhm.
want to make you sicker, dumber, and scared so that you leave public schools, so that you don't get educated, so that you leave the public, and the only interaction that you have with the public in most ways is through your church. Because they're not going to take that away. They're going to always encourage that you go to church. They're always going to go, oh, go to church. It's safe there. You're going to be fine at church. You can heal there. Jesus will protect you. Trump will protect you with his spiritual being as he ushers his golden rain down upon us. Like whatever bullshit they want to feed them, like they're going to, but it's all bullshit. And we need to call it out. We need to call
Yeah.
out that the Christian faith and the Catholic Church, both of them, have been harbingers of death for hundreds of years, if not their whole society or time. There are sects within the church and right now controlling the church, which, at least the Catholic Church, which are not death cults, which are humanist religious cults and groups that organize for like the well-being of others and actually preach what
Right.
Christianity could be and could have a legacy of. Because it's not that Christianity, the book of the like the Bible or the Torah or any of them are implicitly good or bad. Like words are not implicitly good or bad. Who interprets them and uses them can be. And those who have interpreted and used the Christian faith and the Catholic faith, especially in the theonomy realm right now, Russell Vaught, Stephen Miller, J.D. Vance, Peter Thiel, Curtis Yarvin, Mark Andreessen, who owns a lot of Substack, and a whole bunch of them. J.D. Vance, if I didn't say him already, Pete Hegseth, I cannot leave
Well,
that prick out. They're all part of the theonomy. Mike Johnson is part of the theonomy. They want to intertwine Old Testament judicial law into modern civil law, and they're going to
PBS
keep doing it.
PBS interviewed Doug Wilson, which is a co-founder of CREC and leads Christ Church in Moscow, Idaho.
Yes,
And
that's Pete
he,
Hegseth's church.
that's Pete Hegseth's church. Now, I want to quote something out of their article here. I got to scroll down to it, though, now that I made sure I got his name right, because I'm really bad with names. CREC now has a closer relationship to the upper echelons of government. This has renewed scrutiny on Wilson's other controversial views, including his downplaying of the horrors of Southern slavery. Go figure.
Yeah.
Hegseth and Wilson have spoken approvingly at each other. And Crack's new Washington church has begun as a way to serve church members who relocated to work in Trump administration. Okay, so that's why they started the church in Washington, because they have so many people that have relocated to be part of our government. And then the quote from him says, "This is the first time we've had connections with as many people in national government as we do now. But this is not an ecclesiastical lobbying effort where we're trying to meet important people. We're trying to give some of these people an opportunity to meet with God." So they are literally creating missions into Washington, D.C. to get more of Washington, D.C. allied with them.
Yeah. Yes. While
Okay?
at the same time promoting and creating white-only communities in
Correct.
places like Missouri and Northwest Arkansas or Northern Arkansas, not in Northwest Arkansas. They're not welcome on. They ain't welcome around here. We do not have sundown towns on this part of Arkansas. Northeast Arkansas, they still do. Sundown towns are towns, if for those who don't know or want a brief history lesson, sundown towns are towns that you don't go to when the sun goes down if you're not white, because
Yeah,
they'll
you don't
shoot
stay
you
overnight
or
because
they'll
they will
hang
kill
you.
you.
You'll be dead. And there are towns like that still in the South. If you don't think so, go ask a black person who lives anywhere around those areas. They will
They
tell
will
you. Go
tell you
ask
where
a
they
white
think so.
person. Go ask a white person anywhere near those parts who lives in them. They'll tell you too. They'll make sure you know. They'll
There is
make
this
sure
whole
you know
sundown county
real
in Missouri.
quick. Yeah. And they are making white only communities again. Those communities, by the way, are going to be vaccine free. They are going to be education free. And um, um, sorry. My wife is asking if I need something from the store, and I
Oh, okay.
needed to say yes to both. Um, and so these white only communities aren't going to be the only ones that pop up in the next couple years.
No.
People need to education free. It's going
Well,
to, there's, the thing is, without a Department of Education, there's no federal mandate that you have to teach your child in um, a public school. They don't need a free or fair education. The only thing guaranteeing a free and fair education to children is the Department of Education. and they're gutting it and cutting it and ruining it. And
Mhm.
we're going to replace it with A1 steak sauce, Linda McMahon. I still remember that while you were talking on a stage with a bunch of techies calling AI A1. You sound as dumb as you are. And your husband is a fucking abuser. Like, so I
Yeah.
don't care what you have to say. You're not protecting my kids. You're hurting them by taking away their resources. And yeah, education free means they're going to be taught at the Bible. And
Phil
that's it, at the
Goddard's
church.
Phil Goddard had a homeschooling curriculum that's still in use. And you know where he's from, so
And I mean,
yeah, there's a
PragerU.
Phil Goddard homeschooling curriculum.
Yeah. Look at PragerU. PragerU is being
Oh,
used. Ellie Leonard talked about um the um oh yeah, we got to talk about like homeschooling stuff
yeah, we'll
here.
have to do that next time.
Next time we're going to be doing
Oh, is there already the 11th next time?
no, next time we're going to be doing one of Pete Hegseth's church's
Okay,
sermons.
okay,
And then Tim actually has to reschedule for the 11th.
okay,
I'm working with him right now. He had something come up. I think he's speaking at something or he had something come up that
okay.
we're going to reschedule for, which is totally fine.
Yeah,
Um,
but we're still doing the 16th with him.
we're still doing the 16th with Tim Whitaker. He is he was in the evangelical movement and he broke away from it and he is fighting against the rise of Christofascism and nationalist Christofascism. And he's one who's
Yes,
very specific that we need to call it
what it
what
is.
it is, which is Christian fascism. And it's Christian nationalism, not just nationalism and not just
Mhm.
fascism. We have to call it what it is because he's one of the ones um, that is talking about the threat behind the threat, which is what
Mhm.
we're talking about. It's the nationalist threat from these Christians, from these Christofascists who are
Right.
trying to take apart our country, replace our constitutional republic with a techno fascist theocracy and sets
Right.
of little fiefdoms because they think they can control a theonomy of fiefdoms because that's a much smaller like amount of people who have to fall under each one of your groupings and then it can be regional fiefdoms and regional theonomies
Mhm.
that maybe one's a Catholic theocracy
Exactly.
and they turn it into a Catholic version so that they don't have to kill each other. But maybe who knows? It'd be
Or
fun to
maybe
see
the
them
Catholic
try
wants
killing each
it,
other.
we could end up with multiple little groups in war after we all become little
Yeah,
Christian
after we
minis
all
to begin
become
with.
little new Hitler
Yeah.
Like bigots running around killing each other. Like these people are the worst.
Sooner or
I'm
later,
always
when
gonna
you've
come
got,
back to it. They're the worst.
well, when you are somebody, because we also deal with part of the people that are behind this are billionaires who have what they call a what is it called when they don't ever have enough. And so they constantly want more. And sooner or later, if these guys each get their own fiefdoms, they're going to want what the other fiefdom has.
Oh,
Sooner or
absolutely.
later, there will be
It's not gonna
wars
be later.
between these guys.
It's
They can't be happy with what they've got if someone else has something else. It's just
yeah,
not
sorry.
possible for them.
Yeah, sorry I keep trying to jump in there. I'm just this topic scares the fuck out of me.
Oh, no, go.
Because it's literally like coming.
Yeah,
Like
we've
if
got
you
to stop it.
if you don't start like talking about this stuff with your friends and your family, religion is back on the back on the menu. Like talk about it at the dinner table with your family and friends. Please do. Please annoy the fuck out of them. Be annoying for democracy. Like go tell your Christian cousin who's a bigot and an asshole that they're a bigot and an asshole when they come over for lunch and then kick them out of your house. Like, if they still believe that shit and they're not redeemable, do not try. Like, do not try redeeming the irredeemable right now.
Right.
Redeem who you can. It's the sphere of influence thing, and sphere of impact and sphere of empathy. Empathy is not endless. Do not endlessly give your empathy to other people. Be as welcoming as you can be. Like, let's take Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example. Let's talk about for a second what happened yesterday. Just a real super fast glaze over. The 10 Epstein survivors
Right.
spoke and gave testimony of their trauma to the world to hear. Marjorie Taylor Greene stood by their side and
Mhm.
said to the American people, at the risk of her own political career, and yes, damn it, I don't give a fuck if she's doing this for political motivation at the moment. To be totally honest, I could give one shit if she's doing it for political motivations. Going against Trump. She's going against Trump very publicly. She's going against MAGA very publicly. And she said if those women compile the list that they are planning to put together of perpetrators, and if they were to give that list to her, at the moment, I believe that she would read it on the floor of Congress. I think she would. I think she would hold to her word and read it on the floor of Congress, because if otherwise, she's a liar. And the one thing Marjorie Taylor Greene can't let herself be called as a liar, that she's going to go back on something like that. And we have to give just enough space to let her in
Mhm.
for the moment
Yep.
that
What are
she is willing to help us. And then when she is done, because politicians are tools of utility, when she is done being useful to us, we stop giving her support because she's not useful to us after a certain point. I don't believe in her because she wants a theonomy. C is just as bad. She just doesn't want the sex abuse part. She had a line that she was not willing to cross, which is child sex trafficking and pedophilia. And
which
she's
we
been
should
very clear about that
yeah.
line. Like, she's been clear about that line from the beginning, so I'm not surprised she's here. The one I don't trust at all is Nancy Mace.
Well,
Marjorie Taylor Greene, I trust just enough right now because she's been clear on this one thing. Like, this is an issue um I'm glad that she's been clear on this one. But like, well, yeah, I mean, she is a Trojan horse type. I'm not saying trust her for anything. I'm saying trust her just right now. Give her the benefit that she stood, because the whole thing about yesterday was belief. Like, we need to believe victims, right? She was there believing those victims. She was standing outside with Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey, who I don't agree with Thomas Massey on fucking anything, but he's stood this line too. And we give him the benefit while he is doing it until he breaks that trust, and then boom, gone. We don't give them second chances. This is not giving her a second chance. I've never given Marjorie Taylor Greene a first chance. Like, from the start, I've been like, nope, don't fucking like that lady. She's doing this one thing that could bring down Trump. And from there, we then have the avenues to break them apart. Like, Trump is holding MAGA together. Once he dies, because he's old. He's not in good health. Sorry, old man. Like, old people, it happens. Like, shit, sucks to suck, dude. But you're going to happen. JD Vance is next. But JD Vance is a puppet that is weak, like super, super weak and easily malleable. MTG she is her own beast. And right now, I believe in her just for this one thing,
right.
because she said she'll do it. And if she doesn't, hey, guess what? We're going to blast her for it every single fucking day until she's run out of office, and maybe even run out of the country because she doesn't feel comfortable living here, because everybody's going to stand outside her door and call her a lying piece of shit who protected and concealed pedophiles and sex traffickers. Like, I'm okay with reminding Representative Steve Womack every single day if he does not vote to release the Epstein files that he is um, colluding to protect pedophiles and sex traffickers. Like, why? That's what they're doing. So if she's willing to stand up against it, good, because I believe those women yesterday. So I'm going to believe the other woman who was standing there with them. I'd be a
Mm,
little hypocritical if I said I didn't. So I'm
right.
going to give her the belief on this one. Um, but belief doesn't have to be all encompassing, right? Like you don't have to believe everybody on everything I say.
Mm-mm.
Um,
No, there are people who have situational ethics.
Yes. And ethically, right now, situationally, she has a moral line that she was not willing to cross. And
Right.
I'm going to stand with her on that moral line because if we punish her for standing on that moral line at this moment, she will do the thing we don't want her to do.
Right.
But if we give her just a little bit of grace, one, maybe it breaks the spell a little. Two, then we get what we want.
Right.
Like she's a tool in our belt right now. Like
Hmm.
use her as such. Like don't be mean to her for a couple days unless she said something really stupid. If she starts talking about Jewish space lasers again, then like or weather control, like call her out because that's anti-Semitic as fuck. Like I'm tired of that shit. But
Yeah.
on this, like, yeah, cool. She believes. And if she reads Trump's name out loud, good. I hope she fucking does. And I want to see what happens if she does. That would be the hell of a day.
That would
Um,
be. I bet you
anyway,
she would choke.
I bet she would.
I mean, she'd read it probably, but she would choke on it. She
She'd
would.
choke on Hunter's dick that she keeps looking at on that laptop. Sorry. I had to throw that one in there because, she's the one bringing up the dick pics on the floor of Congress. Nobody else did. She's got a thing for Hunter Biden. It's weird. Like, girl, ma'am, you're an adult. You could reach out by phone and be like, hey, I like you. You want to go out? You've done it to other people. Like, I've seen the boyfriends you've had. Like, Hunter would be a major step up. Like,
Maybe she's afraid he wouldn't return her
oh
call.
yeah, I mean he'd turn her down. I would love to hear what that'd be a Russian bug on the wall for that one, and like listen in and be like, "No, Marge, I only like dating people who know what alliteration really means." Is your name Jasmine Crockett? No, bye.
Jasmine Crockett.
I would use that.
Everybody
I would.
loves Jasmine Crockett.
I mean, Jasmine Crockett's amazing. She's
Yeah, she
she's
is.
a fantastic human being.
Yeah.
I support her and her alliteration and her alliterative takedowns and her poetic beatdowns of that bad butch body. I don't remember the rest. She said it so well. But
Mhm.
anyway, we had to go on
Had to go
had to
on a
go
little
on.
bit of a tangent.
Why not?
Always. But it is a little after 4, and I'm sure your wife's coming home with all of the stuff you needed at the store. So, I
I think she left. I don't
well,
even know. I think
well,
I have to now figure out what my son is doing.
that's always
Because he's
alarming.
he's being mischievous when he shouldn't be because he has a broken arm.
Hmm. The other thing is the quiet. The quiet is when they're the most worrisome. Having had children of my own that managed to not die before adulthood, so I didn't break them too badly, at least.
Hey, if they lived, you did a pretty good job.
They're still kicking. So
Hey, that's half the battle, right?
yeah, there are. I mean, the youngest. Your son broke his arm. My son, he took the four-wheeler, and mom told him to stay on the snow, and he didn't listen and went on the ice, hit
Of
a
course
very
you did.
large boulder, and tore up his shoulder, and it wasn't healing. And then he didn't. You know how you tell your kids they have to do things
Yeah,
that you
and
can't
they
do for
don't do
them?
it.
Yeah. He did not go to the school trainer to get a rehab with his So the gym teacher made him do chin-ups,
Oh,
and it totally tore his labrum. He has multiple anchors now, and that's the surgery he had when he was 14. So
hmm.
when your son broke his arm and everything, my heart was with you because
I appreciate it.
they do these things that just put your heart in your throat, and
Yes, they do.
so
Yes, they do. Well, it was good talking to you today,
yeah.
Lisa, and I will see
Thank
you
you,
on
everyone, for
Tuesday.
coming. See you Tuesday.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.